Abenomics, the economic policies introduced by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe when he took office last November have provided a massive stimulus to the Japanese economy. And it seems to be working. Inflation reached 0.8% in August, and today's Tankan survey of business confidence is at its highest level since 2007. The problem is that the government is spending nearly twice of what it makes in tax receipts. Well, today we have an announcement of the first step to shoring up that deficit. And with me today to discuss it is David Pilling, the FT's Asia editor. So David, what exactly is the Japanese government announcing today?
Well, after weeks, months of will he, won't he, Shinzo Abe has decided that the economy is strong enough that from next April they will raise the consumption tax from a lowly 5% to 8%. That's the first step. The second step would be to lift that once again to 10% from October 2015.
And why is Abe doing this?
Well, as you mentioned, the government only raises roughly half in tax what it spends. Debt to GDP is about 230% in gross terms. And for years, there's been the spectre of a debt crisis. Now, there are some reasons to think that there won't be a debt crisis in Japan, given that the Japanese basically owe the money to themselves. But nonetheless, the finance ministry for years in Japan has pressed this move to really put Japan's fiscal situation on a sounder footing.
But raising taxes, always does come with a risk. So what are the risks associated with this move?
Well, there are risks, and although many people support this move, there's perhaps a sort of a strong dissenting minority that vigorously thinks this is the wrong thing to do, for a number of reasons. When they raised this consumption tax the last time in 1997, that was followed by a swift and very deep recession, actually, and also the resignation of the Prime Minister. Now, supporters of the tax raise this time will say, but it was different then. There was an Asian financial crisis. The banks were weak. But there are other reasons too that may have led Abe to stay his hand. Remember, the central plank of Abenomics is to get inflation going again. And although we have a headline rate of 0.8%, CPI, which sounds quite good, if you strip out energy, actually inflation is barely budging at all. The economic growth that we're seeing, while pretty strong by global standards, 3 or 4%, nonetheless, these are kind of early days. And the danger, people think, is that by taking money out of consumers' pockets, the very consumers who are meant to be getting this economy going again, that could bring this whole thing grinding to a halt.
So is there anything that the government can do to mitigate the risks that you talk about?
Abe this time is expected to put in place a kind of counter-stimulus package on things like public works, maybe tax breaks for business, that would or could potentially add up to 5 trillion yen. So that would partly mitigate that. And then, of course, you've got Mr. Kuroda at the BOJ, and he could still put his foot on the accelerator of monetary policy. But still in Japan you have this rather odd situation, or what you could say is an odd situation, of monetary policy with the foot firmly on the accelerator, and now with this tax increase, Abe stomping on the brake.
David, thank you very much indeed. And you can read more about the Japanese economy at ft.com.